Night. Well, before we go there, I just want to remind everyone that the shack is still open. You guys have tacos and stuff still? Looks like it. So they go on over there if you guys are getting hungry or thirsty or anything like that. They're working hard there. So our next candidate tonight is current Councillor at Large, Noel DeBona.
Thank you, Mark. I just want to thank the Merrymount Association for giving me the opportunity to talk here tonight. Can everybody hear me correctly? Okay. If anybody doesn't know me, my name is Noel DeBona. I'm the current Councillor at Large here in the city of Quincy. I grew up here in the city, in the Quincy Point section, and I now live here in Merrymount, a couple streets over on Chickatobit Road, with my 3 children and my wife, Neve. We have Tyler, Aiden, and little baby Nora, 4, 2, and 1 years old. So I'm a very young family growing up here. I was educated through the Quincy Public Schools. I graduated Quincy High School in 1993. I furthered my education right across the way here at University of Massachusetts, Boston, with a bachelor's degree. I'm a small business owner. I'm a blue-collar guy. 21 years with my father right over here, Russ DeBona and Son Landscaping. You know, my road to politics wasn't involved in politics. If you really look at me, I'm really not a politician. I'm a community activist. I started out as a community activist starting in 2011. I started coaching the childhood team, the Quincy Point Panthers, and I'm in my 7th year right now of doing that. I mentor and coach 7th and 8th graders in the Quincy Point section in the Quincy Youth Football League. I look forward to that every season, mentoring the kids in the community. I'm also a junior vice commander for the Sons of the American Legion at Morissette Post 294. We do the Flags for Veterans Island over at Fort Square, the beautiful island of 400 flags. And I've been an active member with that over the years, so I'm an activist for veterans as well. Before I got onto the school committee and then the councilor at large, I served 2 years on the Park and Recreation Board here in the city of Quincy. I did 2 years of that, and then I got onto the school committee. I ran for that 4 years ago and won, and was a school committee member for 2 years. In these last 2 years, I've been a councilor at large here in the city. I like to take note that I have a perfect record up there. I attend every meeting. I have not missed one meeting, one vote. I'm very serious about the job. And some of the issues that have come across in the last 2 years of being on the council, for me as an at-large councilor, it's a little bit different than a ward council where you have a territory. I try to deal with areas and issues that deal with the whole city. One of the main issues that I've been working on as an at-large councilor, and I put a resolution forward in March, is the opioid epidemic that we have and we face here in the city of Quincy and all across the United States, even the world. In the mid-90s, they came out with that bad drug that came out for cancer patients, OxyContin. And what happened is years down the road, the opioid, Vicodin, Percocet, has transferred over to that heroin. And I'm talking about it here tonight because we need to talk about this. We're not going to put it under the rug and not talk about it. We're going to talk about it. It's been an issue that is near and dear to my heart. People breaking into cars, people breaking into houses. Some of the things that are very important to me is public safety, education, and infrastructure improvements. Education always going to be first. Being on the school committee in the last few years, I was able to have a relationship with the different principals and the superintendent. When I got up to the council, I was ready. I was ready to be able to be an at-large councilor coming from the school committee, having that relationship. I always have to educate sometimes my colleagues on the budget, $2.9 million budget for schools. And they're saying, well, why don't you take some of that money out of it and pay for some of the technology advancements? We have to keep up with technology in our schools. We just came out with a bond to upgrade our IT, smart boards, notepads, which is very, very important to our city. Our children are the future of our city. We have to pave the way and allow a good public school system with building new schools. We're Quincy High School in 2010, we have Central in 2013, and we're working on Sterling. Being on the school committee, I was on the Sterling Building Committee as well. I know a lot about being in the Merrymount and being a president. I was the Ward 2 Civic Association president back in 2013. So getting onto the council prior to that I really am a community activist, and I continue to be a community activist out there, traveling around to all the different neighborhood associations throughout the city of Quincy and finding out the needs that are going on in that different community. I would like this to be every community and every neighborhood in the city of Quincy, just like we are right now. Safe, nice atmosphere, children walking around talking, and being able to have this in front of us. This is my vision of Quincy. The reason why I got into politics is I wanted to better Quincy. The love that I have for the city of Quincy is what I continue to do at that council level. You know, there's a lot of people running this year, obviously, and over the last 4 years, I've been in 3 citywide elections. We talk about knocking on a lot of doors and finding out what people's needs are and what's going on out there in the city of Quincy. It's a changing city as we look at it every day. But I want to make sure that there's my little boy here already right in front of me. I'm always chasing him around. And, is to make sure it's a safe city for our kids and also our seniors. I visit a lot of the senior centers and see this public safety in front of them in their crosswalks. We've got to make sure that what do I do at the city council level is I try to facilitate the proper funding and resources for the administration and the mayor to do their jobs. That's what I'm supposed to do, and be the checks and balances of the mayor and the administration. And that's what I'll continue to do. But it's very important that we have that checks and balances, and that we have different opinions and different styles. And that's what makes it so unique in a strong mayor government, is to have that city council of 9 members, 3 at-large councilors. We're probably going to get into questions. I wanted to talk a little bit about who I am as a person, what I'm really all about, what I bring to the table as a community activist and / politician. But in a nutshell is, when you think of me or when you look at me, I hope you would think that family man. This guy's a family man. He's very involved with his children, with his family. He's a community activist. He cares about veterans. He cares about the community. You also think about me as the opioid guy that's going to work on this. We're going to have more meetings starting back up in September. We'll have a public forum where we'll allow people to come in and speak what they want to do, because I want to hear from the people. That's very important for us to tackle this at a city, at a state level, working with people like John Keenan at the state level, working with other activists like Nancy Haller in the House Neck that lost her son, working with other people together collaboratively for the common goal to make Quincy a better place to live, a safer place to live. All I ask from you is you get 3 votes for councilor at large, 3 people you can vote for. I humbly ask all of you for one of those 3 votes. Thank you.
Noel, a question that's been asked tonight but is very important. What's your plan moving forward to assist long-term residents who are struggling to stay in Quincy with the rising rental rates, rising property taxes? How do you see putting a stop or a halt to property tax rates in Quincy?
That's a very good question, and to give you the answer for that is you have to strike a balance in the city. As I'm walking around the city in the last 4 years, I've been seeing a lot of turnover in the houses. I see a lot of younger families coming into some of these households, trying to raise a family. Some of the seniors are coming into these houses, but you have to strike a balance with that, Mark. And what some of them are telling me at the doorsteps is, I want services. Well, if you're going to have services, it's going to cost funding for that. Well, some other people say, well, we have to cut back on our taxes. How do we strike the balance in the middle of this? You get 2 sides of the coin here. And I go to each household, it's very different. Very different conversation at that porch, because there's different interests for each one of them. How do you correlate that together and strike the balance between the 2? Well, the downtown development that's happening right now, Wallaston development, North Quincy development, we need to funnel more of commercial real estate in this city. And I spoke about this 2 years ago running for councilor at large. It's time to come in with the commercial real estate to offset the residential tax rate, which is going on in this city. We are a city, we're 94,000 plus, but we hear about the apartments and the condominiums being in here. Is it going to help out the tax bracket for the residential single-family people in the city? We have to strike that balance and correlate that moving forward with the city of Quincy. Education, public safety, it's police and fire, and we talked about infrastructure improvements. You've got to do those main points first, and everything will follow. So to give you an answer with that is commercial real estate, quality of life, and you have to balance it and strike it for everyone. Finding out, moving it forward with Councillor Palmucci's brought it about forward, we're looking to investigate a little bit more, is holding back on some of the variances of these houses with the building. I don't want to see a single family become a two-family anymore. I'm not going to hear that anymore at the doorstep, because more dwellings, more housing, more cars, more traffic. I hear it every day when I get to the doorsteps that we have to kind of hold tight on that situation. So in a nutshell, Mark, is we have to build on our commercial real estate, we have to level out our spending, and we have to keep the main criterias in there. We do have a problem with the roads out there. Besides traffic, I think roads is second in demand for the people out there in the city. We have to do infrastructure improvements. When you tear up some of these streets, you find out underneath it's a very old city, and you have to repair underneath, and it costs several millions of dollars. So looking at the causeway over there in Squantum, it costs almost close to $2 million to perform and do. So that tells you a little bit rough figure of how much it costs. So when you talk about residential, looking for possible abatements down the road, but at the same token, giving the services that we have in the city with beautiful parks and purification and nice grass fields. So there's a combination of things that you have to strike.
Okay, one quick question. We got about a minute or two, Noel. Spoke of the traffic issues. We have a traffic engineer in Quincy. I believe there was supposed to be a traffic plan developed, and then it came to the attention that not much had been done on that, or that it wasn't ready. What's the city council's role, and what's your plan for alleviating some of the traffic issues that we've seen in the city the last few years?
It's a very good question. I've been answering at almost every doorstep. There's two sides of the coin here. I'm ready to vote on a comprehensive traffic study throughout the city of Quincy. But there's another side of the coin here. There's another group of people that say, wait a minute, if you lived here long enough, you know each road. You know there's only so many traveled roads that you have to get to. Why don't you start hiring junior engineers, traffic engineers now? Start mitigating traffic and going into the neighborhoods now. Where do we strike that pose? How do we need to talk about it at the city council level and figure out where we're gonna go on this. My opinion on it, probably both, a little bit of both. We need to get people out here experienced, skilled, specializing in that field to mitigate this traffic, because it's an issue throughout the city of Quincy. I go down Quincy Shore Drive to pick up my boy Jack and Jill over at Marina Bay, and there are traffic concerns. I hear it throughout the city, anywhere you go, traffic. How do you mitigate it? Combination of the two. Comprehensive traffic study to find out where the problems are in the city, where the issues are, and then hiring junior traffic engineers to help out and mitigate the TPAL division that we formerly just have. Traffic, parking, alarm, and lighting, which is a new division set aside just for these traffic mitigations. But I, as a city councilor, have got to do something, because we can't continue to keep it the way it is. Thank you.
So that's going to wrap up the time for Noel. So give him a round of applause, please. All right, and our next candidate is also currently on City Council as a councilor at large, Nina Lang.
Good evening, everyone. I want to start by thanking Mark and everyone at the Merrymount Association, as well as all of you, for taking the time to come out tonight and making this possible. I also want to take a moment and thank my fellow colleagues and my fellow candidates for joining me as well. I'm Nina Liang, and I'm your at-large city councilor. I'm proud to serve as an at-large city councilor from my hometown. Quincy is an incredible place. This is one of the things that I knew when I first ran for office, but I've learned a lot more about that in these last 2 years. I'm constantly inspired by the hard work that goes into our city every single day. From every neighborhood, to every civic association, to every nonprofit organization, all of our neighbors and friends are committed to making our city thrive. We're all a part of this amazing community, and I'm proud to represent the people of Quincy. 2 years ago, I ran on a pretty simple platform to bring the city government to the residents, to make it more accessible and to make it more transparent. While we've made some progress on that front, I believe we can still do more. We can still do better. Today, I am running for re-election to the Quincy City Council because I know that I have more to contribute. I am running because I want to build upon the progress that we've made together. I am running because I want to continue to be here for all of you and together fight for the future of our city. I'm running today because I want all of you and all of us to expect more. We should expect more from our city government. We should expect more from our elected officials. We should expect more from our neighbors and from ourselves. This is a standard that I hold myself to, and tonight I want all of you to hold me to that same standard. In Quincy, we come together. We work with people, and that's how we find solutions to our issues. And we may not always agree on that path, but different paths are not necessarily wrong. Different paths to the same goal provide us with a wealth of perspective that will allow us to move our city forward. I can tell you that the people that I've met and worked with these past 2 years all share in that same goal, to provide the same opportunities for all of us in this city, and to find a way to give back to the city and the community that we all call home. 2 years ago, I ran for office for the same purpose, and I can tell you that these last 2 years have been an amazing opportunity. I've had the honor and the pleasure to serve all of the residents in the city, to give back to the city that I call home, and to make a difference. I take this as an incredible honor, but I also take it as an incredible responsibility. I know that we still have more work to do, and I know that I can continue to work hard to serve all of you. I've learned a lot about our city. I've learned about the specific issues and challenges that we faced, and that there is no one right answer to all of these problems. Some issues that are important to some folks may not be the top priority for others in this city. And while some issues this may be a pebble or a rock, to others that same issue could be a mountain. And so we have to make sure to address all of those issues for every single resident in the city. I've learned a lot as well about all the different neighborhoods that we have here. And again, I've learned a lot about myself. I know that I have more to contribute. I know that I want all of you to expect more of me, and that I want to continue to do more for you. I would love to have the opportunity to continue to be all of your voices for our city, and I humbly ask for your support and for one of your 3 votes on September 12th. Thank you.
Thank you, Nina. So some questions that were submitted. What would you say is your most proud achievement from your 2 years on the city council so far?
My most proud achievement, the smallest one, well, not smallest one because I just said, right, some issues are really important to some folks. There was a small patch of sidewalk that was all crumbled and broken up, and I was able to call over to the DPW, and they sent somebody out and they fixed it. That's actually something really neat that I've learned as well, is that it's not just about the city council, it's not just about the administration, it's a collaborative effort across the city, and to be able to fix a problem like that was really neat. The other accomplishment I'm really proud of is with respect to the development in the downtown. Before I came onto the council, the city council's role with projects that were going up in the city were not involved. We had a vote that came in front of the city council, and we moved forward the issue so that now when you develop on public land, it goes to the city council first. We're allowed to have public hearings. We're allowed to invite folks to come and give their opinion. We're allowed to have the time to solicit feedback, get emails, get phone calls, get texts, get pings, tweets, whatever it may be, so that before we make that decision, if that development should go up, we have the ability to contribute to that. When it comes to private development, we still have 30 days for our contribution to that before a decision gets made elsewhere, but we still have the opportunity to be a part of that decision.
Numerous people asked about environmental issues being on the coast here. Do you think Quincy is doing enough to deal with environmental concerns, coastal erosion, rising sea levels? In general, is Quincy preparing for climate change at a local level?
So I live right up the street from the other end of the beach here, and luckily for me, I'm right out of the flood zone, but it's probably about a 2-minute walk from my house down to the beach. And every day, I don't know if I'm going to be in the flood zone or out of the flood zone, and so that is one particular issue that I'm personally concerned with. With respect to the work that we're doing in the city to address the issue, there are organizations, one in particular, Quincy Climate Action Network, who are a group of people that are championing this issue and trying to find ways to help support us and thinking of new creative ways to move forward. So for example, they came and they talked to the council and talked to us about green cars, electric cars, and how we can actually change our entire city fleet from the gasoline use over to electric cars. And so with innovative ideas like that, by working together, by soliciting feedback from residents who are maybe experts on the matter, who have done the work themselves as well, I believe will help us to continue to move forward with that.
Okay, what's your position on the Four River compressor station?
I'm against it as well. I know that my colleague spoke about it earlier. With that, that is also a collaborative effort. I talk a lot about that, but that's truly what that is. In knocking around the different neighborhoods and having meetings and keeping up with social media and keeping in touch with people, there's a slew of community members from across different cities, not just here, but also in Weymouth and in Braintree. I've met some folks that are also championing against that issue. And so I believe so long as we stick together and we fight against that and we continue to work with our state and federal delegation, that hopefully we'll see some positive results from that.
The city, especially the people who live in the Wollaston area with the Wollaston T station closing, that's going to be a major concern for people in that area. What do you think the city can do to help alleviate the impact that that's going to have on those people?
Yeah, that's going to be terrifying. Living up in North Quincy and driving by the North Quincy T station and using the North Quincy T station, I don't believe it's an issue specific to Wollaston. I believe it's an issue specific really to everyone that lives in this area and either takes this main road or Hancock Street or Newport. Everyone's going to be affected by it in one way or the other. And luckily, we've been able to push for additional community meetings with working with Senator Keenan's office. The MBTA is a state organization, and through working with the community to get feedback, we've been able to push that over to Senator Keenan's office, and he's been able to help champion us that as well. When those meetings happen, however, we as a city council need to make sure to be there to represent all of you and all of your concerns. Unfortunately, one of those community meetings we had more recently, a lot of folks couldn't make it out to. And so leading up to it, we need to be there to speak up for you and tell them what those issues are. Why haven't you run any dry runs yet with those buses? What are some alternative routes? How many staff are you going to have on site to direct the traffic or to tell people this is the bus you're supposed to go to or this is where you land? Who's paying for that? Who's going to be taking care of policing the area? Is that going to be state funded or is that coming out of our pockets? And these are the kinds of questions that we need to stay on top of as your counselor. And again, if you don't have the time to come to a meeting or if you're not sure who to contact or what's going on, please feel free to reach out to me. I have my contact information over here as well. And I do want to be open and transparent about the fact that I will be working very closely with Senator Keenan's office. He's been wonderful as well for pushing forward issues that I've brought to him from the community.
An issue that attracted some attention earlier in the year was the idea to bring up to the city council of whether Quincy should consider calling itself acting in the manner of what's known in, there's not really a good definition of it, but of a sanctuary city. That did not go forward with the city council. Would that be something that you would be interested in addressing if you were elected again to the city council?
So with the sanctuary city resolution that I brought forward, I brought the resolution out because for the past year and a half, I've been hearing from residents on both sides of the issue. People that are passionate and saying this is not something that we should be doing, and then people passionate on the other side to say this is something we should move forward with. After the election earlier this year, as you guys all know, or I'm sure most of you are aware, a lot of cities and towns in Massachusetts were moving forward with that decision. And with more people coming up to us as a city council and bringing that issue up, I felt it was my responsibility to address that issue and talk about policy. Mark, you're right. There is no one specific term for it because every city and town that has called themselves a sanctuary city has enacted different types of policies. So at the core of it, I wanted to know, what are our policies? What is it that we do? What are we doing to protect our police? Do they understand what their responsibilities are going out there? What do our residents think? What is it that they want for policy? And ultimately, that's all I was trying to do, was to have it in the most transparent format possible, which is at our city council meeting. They're televised, there's newspapers there, the Patriot Ledger now live tweets our meetings. People can go back and listen to those correspondences through audio, they can read them. And if there's any one place to find out true and real information on such a divisive issue, it's at the city council. It's my role to always address an issue that is a concern of our residents, and that's something that I will always commit to doing.
Okay, and final question. final question would be, what is your plan to increase commercial development in Quincy to lessen the load on the residential property taxes?
That's a great question, Mark, and that's one of the things that I am actually moving forward with and trying to work with all of my colleagues. I know some of them mentioned them earlier, that Councillor Pamucci had brought forward the residential tax exemption. So those things go hand in hand. When it comes to the city of Quincy, if anything is a dwelling unit, then it's considered residential. So the lower residential tax rate that we're all paying is the same as if I owned, an apartment building or a townhouse, and I'm profiting off of that. Well, it's still a dwelling. So I'm only paying residential tax on my commercial property. That being said, we do need to offset that by increasing our commercial property, and it's not just by saying, hey, we're gonna build a huge building with apartments and have 2,000 square feet on the bottom for retail. That's not enough commercial tax to offset what I'm paying for my taxes. And so we need to, wasn't a goal there. We don't have that much land in the city as well. If you guys take a drive around the city, or if you just walk around the city, come door knock with one of us. It's great exercise, but it's also a great way to see all the little nooks and crannies in our neighborhood. We actually don't have that much land left to develop commercial property. You want to keep open space, you want to keep your parks, you want to keep your neighborhoods. And so if you look at those larger areas like the downtown and Crown Colony, you really want to focus on those areas that are already going to be commercially developed, and we don't have much of it left. And so we need to go ahead and talk to developers elsewhere. We need to tell them, when you come here, it's not going to be apartments with 2,000 square feet of commercial real estate. It's going to be all commercial, all businesses. And at the end of the day, it's not just helping the taxpayers, it's creating jobs, it's creating more stimulation for our economy. So all around, it's good. I'm not going to sit here and say I'm not for development. I certainly am, but commercial development, no more residential development.
All right. Thank you, Nina.
Thank you. Thank you guys for your time.
All right, so our last candidate tonight is Steve Togas. If I mispronounce your last name, Steve, you'll feel free to correct me. Steve is running for city council, I believe, for the first time. And I know he has some props that he wants to bring up here, so give him a second, all right?
Sorry, I'm
You gotta flip it on. Steve. 1 second. Flip the mic on.
yeah, there we go. Sorry, I'm not 3D. So I got a natural spotlight out here. This is good. You probably want to know who I am and what I want to do for you. Well, let me first say that I'm just a regular guy. Okay, so I'm an engineer with 30 years of experience, and I have my name on a patent, and I develop surgery over the internet, and things like that. But basically, I woke up on 9/11, and when you said, what are you going to do for me? Well, I'm more in the Kennedy school of things, where he said, it's not what your government can do for you, it's what you can do for your government. So I became an activist. So I am not a politician. However, I have ran for public office. I ran for state committee. I'm also chairman of Ward 4 and Republican Party. Okay, that might be a strike against you, against me. But basically, the thing of it is that I believe that the individual rights are more important than the collective, over the individual rights. That's a democracy. The founding fathers hated democracy. John Adams basically said that no democracy in history has ever survived. It soon wastes, murders, and exhausts itself. So what we have is a republic, and that's where the rights of the individual is put above the collective. Now, what have I been doing? Well, the question is not whether I'm going to be at large, because I have been. Not whether I've been working for you, because I have been. And if you don't elect me, well, I'm going to continue to work for you regardless, all right? So basically, this is a test to see what you want to do if you want to elect me. Well, when I started waking up, I went through the layers of the news media and everything to learn the truth and what's going on. And so I realized that we got to work on some of these issues. We got to be part of it. So who here has heard of the gas tax? Basically, they made a gas tax that, let me say it, I'll show you here. I made this sign up here. They linked the gas tax to the consumer price index. One would raise the other one and without limit. And so I said, we got to fight this, and I got involved. I collected signatures. I was told the sign I made. I sent this statewide, collected 4,000 signatures from one person alone. And so I helped everybody here, when they go to the grocery store, they pay less for their groceries because of what I did. It's a thankless job. I mean, basically, you probably never knew that before, you came here. So I got involved in other issues, like the bathroom bill, basically. That is on the ballot now in 2018. I got involved in NCOM and CORE because I realized that it was a global education that was being put in the United States, and you cannot be an American and be a globalist simultaneously. You will love the one and despise the sovereignty of the other. And so I've learned a lot of these things, and I made all these signs up here. Basically I put them when I'm collecting signatures, and they work. I was town captain of Quincy and Braintree to collect signatures for this issue, to end this issue. And so now that this is over, actually the SJC threw out 1/8 of a million signatures of all of you people that signed to have this on here because they just found a little technicality in it. Well, we have to continue. And so what am I doing now? All right. Remember I said I was going to continue working for you? Well, Monday before last week, I was at the State Attorney General's office, and I launched my own ballot initiative statewide. I'm on 2 state boards, and I thought, well, now it's time for me to step up to the plate and help the people of Quincy. Basically, I was just going to pull it out a paper there. Senate Bill S 1959 is a real bill, and they plan to make 93, 95, Route 2, all toll roads. It's not a blog. It's on the state website. It's a real bill. And so we had to fight against this. And so I launched this ballot initiative, and I'm having to deal with the lawyers in the State Attorney General's office and everything. And it's kind of interesting because I'm an engineer. I mean, but that's what I do. What else have I done for Quincy? Well, I believe we have boundaries and borders for a reason. If you put too much food into you, you can't assimilate it. And so we already have laws on the book that govern these things. And so I started looking more locally when the sanctuary city issue came up. I basically was there front and center. I wrote letters to all of my city councilmen. Got a response from Noel DeBona, thank you very much, and Margaret LaForest. They were there, and I went there and I printed up signs, and I published the article in the Quincy Sun and statewide in the Broadside. And basically, our side would not have had signs because I'm an American first. And we wouldn't have had signs if I didn't print them all up and make them up and hand them out to people. And when they saw the opposition from the back of the front of the room, they said, this is not a winning issue, and they decided to drop it. So I was very much a part of that. So, I mean, and I wasn't your city councilor at that time. I mean, I was just a normal guy, and so I'm sorry for my nervousness, but I'm not usually getting up in front of large groups. Okay, I do karaoke. People probably know me from there. But yeah, that's given me to know a lot of people in the city. Collecting signatures has helped me get to know a lot of the people. But when the sanctuary city bill came up, I started getting involved. Well, what did I do recently? In June, I went to the State House and I testified against 2 bills. I testified against the carbon tax that they want to put on you, and then I testified against the sanctuary state issue. And when I went to the both of those issues, they were full of loons, people that were just crazy. I just, I'm an engineer, 30 years of experience, name on a patent. So, I mean, I'm a very logical person, and I study a lot of stuff, and I learn about a lot of stuff. And so only 4 people from the time of 1 o'clock till 5:30 testified against the carbon tax. Everybody else just took that and I had to recover from a whole day for that. But I basically published both of those testimonies in the Boston Broadside, went statewide. So, that's who I am. I'm an activist. And I haven't spent a dime on this campaign because I didn't want to. But, if this is a test run, if people want me, they're going to let me know. And I'll ramp it up. So,
All right, Steve, let me give you a couple good questions here. Thank you. And so if you are elected to the city council, what would be your, let's say, top 3 priorities?
Well, lower taxes. Basically, the law is meant to keep people from stealing your stuff. But when the laws are perverted to steal your stuff legally, that's called socialism. And the excuses that they make, they are hundreds and hundreds of excuses. And the idea is that so many politicians, I mean, you hear promising a chicken in every pot. Well, where does that money come from? It comes from the taxpayer. And how do they get that money? Well, through their excuses, through their socialistic laws. And the idea is that to keep taxes low, you got to cut spending. And you got to find out ways. Basically, this ballot initiative here is basically the state of Massachusetts just saying, we just made these pay raises, we got to pay for them, we're going to start reaching out and just taxing people, and we got to slap them down and say no. So this is who I am. And, that's one issue. The sanctuary city issue is one that I worked on. I'd like to see more single-family housing. I really would. Basically, they talk about more people coming into the city, and they're implementing all these things that prevent cars from getting in there. They just keep getting parking away. They keep paving over the parking lots. They put bicycle paths up, globalist agenda, and and they want people to come into the city. They they lowered the speed limit to 25, and they want people to come in and drive. It's like that's the opposite.
Do you have any issues of environmental concern in terms of what Quincy can be doing to deal with any effects from climate change?
Well, if you read my testimony at the State House, basically I said that if we across the globe, every person on this planet implement the Paris Accords, right? By 2100, we'll only lower the temperature by 0.05 degrees. That, to me, says that it's a political agenda, that there's crying wolf to control you. And that's what socialism really is. And so this is global. And so, as a scientist, as an engineer, like I said, developing surgery over the internet, I understand technology a lot better than the average person. So basically, I think there's a degree of a hoax to it. So,
All right. One last question. Your position on the Fall River compressor station.
I believe that we need compressors, but not around population. So I'm totally against it. Basically, I saw a film on engineering disasters in I think it was San Francisco or someplace out there, where they made the pipes, and what they did is that they skimped on it, where they welded on the top but not the inside. And so what happened is the pipes burst, and they went through communities, and it burned out the whole community. Basically, we got to watch this stuff, and the best medicine is prevention. Basically, put it around people, keep it away from people.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you, Steve, for your passion and dedication to your interests. Thank you for coming out. Okay, and so that is our last of the 7 candidates for Councillor at Large. So just wrap things up real quickly. Thank you everyone for coming again tonight. Reminder for our Ward 1 residents, next Wednesday night from 6 to 7:30, we'll have our 4 Ward 1 candidates. Please bring a donation of a non-perishable food item to the Germantown Food Pantry. And remember, register to vote by August 23rd. And the primary election is Tuesday, September 12th. So thank you again for coming down tonight. Thanks, everyone.
Hi, Chris. How are you? Good. It was beautiful being outside. I know. I get lucky every